So, so we can go ahead and get going. So let's see. Oh. Okay, so if I can't share my screen, that's totally fine. I don't know if I've got permission to do that or not.
I'm trying to figure it out right now.
Perfect, that's fine. If you click the little caret next to the, or the up arrow next to the share screen, you should pull up a bunch of settings.
All right, I think that worked.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, so the QR code here, if you have multiple devices in front of you, the QR code, you can scan that and it connects you with our email list. So I try not to bug you because I know that you probably get a ton of emails each week, but I do try and let you know when there's things happening at the college, different virtual events that we do, including an application workshop that's coming up on May 22nd. So definitely sign up for our email list if you're interested. So I thought tonight we would go through kind of what Iowa State has, what Ames and Iowa State has to offer, then a little bit about who gets in, and then finally how you get in. That's always the big question, right? I try to be, even though I have a PowerPoint, mostly, like I said, it's for me and those of us who are visual learners, who appreciate those sorts of things. But I really try and make this as informal as possible. I am not afraid to jump back and forth between the slides that I've got and really tackle the questions that you want to know about. I would rather have those of you on the call, get to know about what you want to know about versus what I think that you might want to know about. So probably with a meeting this large, you can go ahead and use the chat box to ask your question, or let me know if you have a question that you want to ask out loud. If you send your question directly to me, I'm going to assume that you don't want me to share your name. So I'm going to just, keep it anonymous. So if you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat or let me know that you have a question that you want to ask out loud. So like I said, super informal. I'm happy to answer those questions. While those are rolling in though, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about Ames. I don't know if anybody has been to Ames before, but we really do have a pretty small town feel with a lot of amenities. We have a half dozen grocery stores to choose from, a couple of Walmarts, a Target, a couple of movie theaters, some great restaurants, and a pretty decent farmers market in the spring, summer, and fall. So it actually takes up the street that you see there. That's our main street. Yeah, it's a wonderful place. It does have a lot of bike trails as well. So you can, they're super wide bike trails. So you can, run with your dog or take a walk or bike or whatever, but a pretty kind of outdoorsy sort of town. We are about 40 minutes north of Des Moines. So I, always tell students, if you kind of picture the state of Iowa, or at least picture a rectangle, and you put your finger right in the middle, we're just about 40 minutes north of kind of the center of Iowa. One of our claims to fame is that we have one of the highest concentrations of veterinarians in North America. And so the reason for that is that obviously we have the vet school here that employs a lot of veterinarians. But we also have the United States Department of Agriculture. Specifically, the National Animal Disease Center is here. So that employs a lot of veterinarians. And we have a lot of different, we have like a Center for Food Safety and all sorts of things here. What's nice about that is our students get to collaborate with folks that work out there. So there is a lot of information shared, mentoring, and all of that. So really great opportunity with the USDA right in our backyard. I do need to gloat a little bit because we were named, the best college town. And that's pretty exciting. But I've been here for about 5 years and really love it. My dog and I go out walking all the time. We live just off of downtown. So it's a great place to be. So let's kind of hone in on the college now. So most people, when they think about Iowa, they think about pigs or at least animal agriculture. And that is definitely part of our culture here at Iowa State. But we do have a really great small animal hospital as well. So all of the areas that you see on the screen right now are rotations for our fourth year students. They're also sometimes an avenue for a job even before you get to your fourth year. So I know one of our students who is going into her third year working in canine rehab, so our rehabilitation unit, and she loves it. That's her part-time job, and that it, as she's learned more about it, has become something that she's hopefully going into after veterinary school too. So lots of really, really cool things to get involved with. Faculty members are really great about mentoring, if you're interested in a certain area, and even hosting students for kind of for shadowing experiences when you're in veterinary school too. So lots of great opportunities there. A good example of how we invest not only in large animal medicine, but also small animal medicine is the machine you see here is our radiation therapy machine. So it is kind of adds to our arsenal for our oncology unit. So now we can provide radiation therapy along with chemotherapy and surgery for our oncology patients. So it's a great asset to our hospital. Obviously, we have a robust large animal hospital as well. You can kind of see some pictures there, as well as the listings for our for just a few of our rotations in food animal medicine. So, we have this wonderful, big, bright, clean, large animal hospital, but we understand that that's not the reality for most most large animal veterinarians. So we also want to provide a kind of real world experience for them as well. So Veterinary Field Services has 2 units. They have a food animal unit and an equine unit. They are in charge of going out into the field, obviously. So they go out and make farm calls. They service all of the horse barns and teaching farms here on campus, as well as kind of go out in a 30-mile radius. What's great is they actually also partner with emergency services for Story County, which is our county, so that they can respond to any emergencies dealing with animals as well. So if we've had a lot of snow this year, and so if a trailer were to slide off the road in a snowstorm, our students can be part of the team that, make sure that those animals are either being, given the treatment that they need or that they're back on the road safely. The Swine Medicine Education Center is just what it sounds like. So it's a place for where our students can learn more about swine medicine, in a spot where they actually get to see the whole life of that pig, and get to see kind of the ramifications of veterinary medicine kind of throughout. There is also what we call the Great Plains Veterinary Education Center, which is sort of the same thing, except it deals with beef cattle. So if you're interested in that, or even just want to learn more about something and don't have a lot of experience, those are really great things that you can do. They actually, in association with both of those places, they host internships each year. We have a swine medicine internship and a bovine medicine internship. There's actually a beef cattle one and a dairy cattle one there. So really great that you can get more experience in that area if you're interested. And I should say those are summer internships, not internships after veterinary school. So they're for our vet students. So along with that, if you're interested more on the research side of veterinary medicine, we have a ton of different opportunities as well. You can see some of them listed here. We actually were named the National Institute for Antimicrobial Resistance. And so that is a really, really great thing that our students get to be involved with and learn from as well. What's great is we encourage our students to get involved with research if they're interested. So we have what we call a summer scholars program. So students can apply. It's a paid position over the summer, and you get to do research with one of our faculty members. They try and kind of match your interest with a faculty member who's doing research in that same area. It's a fantastic program where some students go on to do more research with that faculty member. Some students are even published on that project as well. So some great experiences there, both on kind of the basic science side that you can see some of those things, but also on the clinical, with some clinical trials going on as well. So before I move on, any questions about that so far? Hospital side of things, rotations, anything like that? If you're furiously typing, that's totally fine. I'm happy to kind of go back and answer questions too. But I want to be respectful of your time and save some time maybe for questions at the end as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what our curriculum has in store. So you'll see there, kind of first year is definitely essentially everything that's normal. And then second year, you get to look at everything that's abnormal. So you get to do some hands-on things in those first and second years, but then for the most part, you're doing, lectures and kind of labs that way. So it is definitely more lecture and lab-based work, but they do always try and tie things to the clinics. So along with anatomy and physiology your first year, you're also, taking a clinical imaging course. You have a case studies course each semester throughout your first 2 years. And you really do get, kind of that sense of, okay, I'm learning this so that I can become a veterinarian. It's not just trudging through anatomy and physiology. We try and teach as broadly as possible for as long as possible until until that fourth year. In the third year is when you're going to pick an area of focus. Mostly that's so that we can help you set up those fourth year rotations. So your third year, like it says there, you're kind of transitioning to clinics. We really want you to hone those surgical and medical skills in that third year. So we actually partner with local shelters. We bring in dogs and cats from those local shelters. Our students are able to perform spays and neuters on those dogs and cats, and then they go back out to the shelters to become adopted. So it's a really, really great program where our students get the practice that they need, those animals get the procedures that they need, and then sometimes they
Why quiet?
They even find homes with those.
No, I said you could and say you had to.
So then in that third year, you'll also do some mini rotations to kind of help you get to know the hospital a little bit more and get set up for those fourth year rotations. And then your fourth year is actually going to start the day after your spring semester finals, your third year. So you get an entire 12 months of those clinical rotations, which is really, really great. you know, when I was talking about we teach as broadly as possible, we actually even do that in the 4th year. You have about 10 rotations that are required across the board, no matter if you pick your area of focus, you know, that's large animal medicine or small animal medicine or mixed. You're still doing those kind of core rotations, so that you can kind of have that solid foundation. Most students want to know about when they can get that hands-on experience. Like I said, you know, throughout the 4 years, we try and kind of space it out so that you do have some hands-on learning each year. First year, for example, you're learning basic physical exam, blood draws, and then some stuff about clinical imaging. Your 2nd year, then you go into suturing and all of those things that you need to get ready for those surgeries the 3rd year. And then your 3rd year, that last picture there, or the right picture there is that junior surgery suite. The other 2 are our clinical skills lab, which has all of the models that are listed here. And what's really nice about it is you will spend time there with an instructor, you know, honing those skills, but it's also open from like 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. In order for you to go in and practice whenever you need to. So it's a really, really great opportunity there to, you know, really get those skills down. Okay, it looks like the chat is clear. So if there are other questions, feel free to give me a shout here. Otherwise, we will go on and talk a little bit more about who gets in. So we do have 158 positions available. And those are split up into a few different categories. And I apologize, I noticed this in my last meeting and I haven't switched it yet. That should be 30. Otherwise my math doesn't work out. So we have 60 seats that are reserved for students from the state of Iowa. We have contract positions with North Dakota and Nebraska. That takes up another 30 seats. And then there are about 68 seats that are reserved for students from all 47 other states, US territories, and international countries as well. So, so that's kind of our biggest pool there. We also split up those applicants based on those 4 categories. So Iowa, North Dakota, Nebraska, and non-resident students, so that, you know, students are kind of competing in their specific pool. I want to make sure I'm pausing. If we have any North Dakotans or Nebraskans who have questions about that contract, I'm happy to answer those. Or non-residents or Iowans that have questions about anything, please feel free to put them in the chat or put a question in the chat. Or even come off mute. Y'all are a pretty quiet, civilized group, it sounds like. So, you know, feel free to do that as well. The one thing I will say is that so students sometimes ask about our admission rate. So for non-resident, non-contract students, our admission rate is it hovers between 25 and 30%, depending on, you know, how many students applied and how many students we offered admission to. So a thing to keep in mind here is that it's not just, you know, we don't just offer 68 seats to students from out of state. We understand that some students are going to say, you know, thanks, but no thanks, Iowa State, and we're gonna pull students off of an alternate list. That alternate list sometimes moves 100 spots. Sometimes it's moved 300 spots. It really depends on who's applying each year, where else they got in, and kind of how that shakes out. Okay, question here is, do you all require the GRE? I'm glad you asked. We'll talk about selection criteria. If anybody has any questions about admission stats, we can absolutely go back to that. But so let's talk a little bit about the selection criteria. That's totally fine. So we do not require the GRE. So we dropped the GRE requirement a few years ago, which is really kind of exciting for us. I think that it was one of those things that was a roadblock for some students, and one that they don't have to stress out about anymore. It didn't really show that it predicted the success of veterinary students in our program. So it wasn't a good predictor of that. We understand that the test is expensive and not, really accessible to every student, especially when you add in expenses, for things like prepping for the GRE and all of that kind of stuff. Circling back here, I've got a question. Have you seen an increase or decrease in admissions? So we have seen an increase in our class, actually, over the last handful of years. We've gone from admitting 130 to close to 160. So we have seen an increase in that, mostly because with the way our classrooms were renovated and the way our labs are, we can accommodate more folks. So we are admitting more students, but we also have seen an increase in applications over time. So it has gotten more competitive in the last years as well. I started here 4 years ago. This is my 5th application cycle, essentially. And so we went from 900 the year that I started. We've gone up steadily. Last year we had 1,900 students who applied. And if I could see your faces, I'm sure some of you were like, whew, and I understand that it seems daunting when we have 1,900 applications and, only 158 students get in. One of the things I will say is that not every student who is counted in those 1,900 applications is a qualified applicant. We have some students who don't fill out our supplemental application. We have some students who don't turn in enough letters of recommendation, or they don't even intend to, complete our prerequisite courses. So there are things that you can do to look at or to increase your chances of being one of our admitted or even one of our alternate students. So another question about class size before we head on to selection criteria. What does a typical class size look like? So pre-COVID, the lectures are all are hosted with the entire class together. So we have lecture halls that accommodate 158 students. So lectures would be all together. Anatomy was also taught all together because our anatomy room is big enough. We've got enough instructors to kind of help answer questions and all of that kind of stuff. And then depending on the different labs that you take, your labs may be split up into a couple of sections because we have some labs that don't quite accommodate all of the students, or the instructors want a little bit more of a close eye on the students and to be able to be there for questions and all of that. The junior surgery is split up into 3 different sections so that if there is something going wrong with your surgery, there are plenty of techs, veterinary technicians and faculty members to help out with that. So those junior surgery classes are a little bit smaller. And then the rotations, it depends on which rotation you're in, but typically no more than 8 students. And even that's a large rotation. A lot of times there's anywhere from 4 to 6 students on a rotation. So, so even though kind of our class, so class of 2024 is 158 students, it doesn't mean that really they're in, you know, in those labs and stuff like that, you know, all together. With COVID, we have a little bit of an even different or a more different experience for our students. They actually do their lectures online, although there are some instructors this semester who have said, you know what, I'm teaching from a classroom anyway. If you want to come in and sit in the class, as long as you're social distance, that's okay. So we did have some students sign up for in-person classes too, just because they learn better that way, or feel more comfortable that way, or have better, they don't have to worry about an internet, you know, a poor internet connection or something like that. So they're doing that. And then we split up the class into learning communities of about 25, and those students go to lab together. So we're kind of keeping them as more of a closed group. I'm not sure. I think in the future, the university would like us to, you know, be as in person as is safe. So I can see that kind of growing, you know, the amount of students who can be here at one given time. But there may be some principles that kind of stick. So we'll just kind of have to see how that goes. But typically lectures are all in the big group. But great questions. That's perfect. Okay, keep them coming. Any other questions, please feel free to put them in and I will bounce back and forth, definitely. Okay, so going back to the selection criteria. So we talked about no GRE. So our GRE used to be factored into this academic review. Now it's simply these 2 GPAs. So we're looking at the required science GPA, which is in that shared file folder, which I'm going to share again in case folks came on after I shared it the first time. So the required science GPA, so our science prerequisites, that's going to be 25% of your score. And then the last 45 credits is going to be the second or the other 25% of that score. We don't split terms. So that last 45 credits, if the 45th credit ends up midway through a semester, we're going to take that whole semester. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you do repeat a class, we take the most recent grade for better or for worse. So something to keep in mind is you know, if you're considering retaking a class. I know some students who had a B and they wanted to try for an A and got a tougher instructor, or something happened that semester and they, you know, started dipping towards a C. We would take that C if they didn't withdraw from the class. So those are those 2 GPAs. We do have, each year we set a cutoff that's tied to the required science GPA. It fluctuates each and every year depending on not only how many applicants we have, but what the GPA is like for those applicants. It's been as low as a 2.5. This year it was a 3.0, just because we had that many more applicants. So there is a required science cutoff. Unfortunately, it's not set until we have all of the applications in and have done that academic review. So it's not something where I could say, you know, hey, for this next application cycle, it's up. I would say if you are above a 3.0 for a required science GPA, you should feel, you know, confident about being above that cutoff. So yes, so that's the academic review. I'm going to move on to the committee review, but if you have any questions about academics, I'm happy to help, or happy to answer those. So the committee review is essentially everything else on your application. So it's letters of recommendation, awards and honors, experience, essays, all of that is going to be tied into that that committee review. 2 members of the committee are going to review your application, and they will not see your GPA. So that's something to kind of keep in mind, is that they do not see your GPA. They will see where you went to school, if you majored in something, what you majored in, you know, what kind of degrees you have, but they won't see your GPAs at all. So the committee review used to be 25%. The interview is the other 25%. We also no longer interview for some of the same reasons. You know, we were looking at how to make vet school more accessible and less expensive. And we realized there's not really a way to kind of shorten vet school and make it, you know, less expensive. But we could help students out on the application side of things. So so we no longer interview, we no longer require you to come to Iowa State for that. But what we do is we host, we call them class of whatever your year, preview days, where you actually get to come in and you get to essentially interview us. So we have faculty panels, student panels, you get to take a tour, you get to, you know, ask questions to the dean, you get to kind of chat with our clubs and all of that kind of stuff, so that you make sure that Iowa State is a good fit for you. So like I said, typically those are in person, and I hope that they will be again. Those are some of my favorite days to meet you all and to get to kind of show you our school. Right now, they're all virtual versions of that. So and open to our alternates and our admitted students. You also no longer have to take OChem 2. I know for a lot of students that doesn't impact it because you need it for another school or you need it for your bachelor's degree, but there you go. You don't have to take it. If you don't have to take it, you don't have to take it. So I know that, you know, vet school, you know, student loans and all of that sort of stuff definitely weighs heavy on a lot of students. But we are working our hardest to give out scholarships and to increase our scholarships that are going out to students. So, you know, last year was the same. We offered about $1.1 million in scholarships. Our dean, Dr. Grooms, is committed to making that $2 million by 2023. That's kind of the charge that he's given our fundraisers at the school. So he's really committed to making sure that there are scholarships for also, or for, you know, our students. One of the cool things is that you can actually get scholarships as you enter veterinary school. So as an incoming first year student, we gave out about $300,000 last year. And we use the FAFSA, so the free application for federal student aid. And we also use your VMCAS and supplemental applications to make sure, or to get that you know, get that information, and then we award scholarships from there. And so, yes, woot woot, it's good to have scholarships, right? So that's really great. Once you're in veterinary school, we also use a program called One App. So you're applying to one application for multiple scholarships versus trying to chase down scholarships you think that you might qualify for. And then our scholarship committee meets, reads through those applications, and then awards scholarships from there. So great news on the scholarship front. Okay, really quickly, if I can, I'm going to get up on my soapbox just a little bit. So in talking and working with pre-vet students for the last, you know, almost 5 years, these are some of the things that I have really, you know, found helpful for students as they kind of move throughout their pre-vet journey. So one is to view your requirements as a foundation. I know it's hard to do that when you're struggling through physics or organic chemistry or whatever, you know, your Achilles heel is. But if you think about, you know, these aren't just hoops that are, you know, that we're making you jump through because we think it's fun. It's really the foundation that you are going to build your veterinary school on top of, and your veterinary career on top of. Same thing for, you know, for experiences and all of that as well. Staying organized is a good thing, good practice to get into as you're an undergrad, and will absolutely help you in veterinary school too. Even things like organizing, you know, keeping an Excel sheet of all of your experiences and all of that is really, really great. So keep in touch with the schools that you're interested in, you know, double check if there are any different requirements, you know, requirement changes or new things happening at the school. This, where these two are sitting here, that are kind of in the foreground of this picture, if they had been in the same location a year before this picture was taken, they would have been sitting outside. So there's always cool new things happening at veterinary schools, ways that we're improving. So keep in touch, ask us what, you know, what's going on at the vet school, but also keep in touch with, you know, your mentors, your veterinarians, your advisors that are helping, you know, helping you along the way. Keep in touch with the, you know, friends that you make in pre-vet club or whoever else is commiserating with you, you know, while you go through the application process. For our committee, volunteerism, giving back to your community, whether it's within the context of animals and veterinary medicine or not, is hugely important and can really impact your application, to show that you know, value that giving back to your community, as well as, you know, that you value developing your leadership skills. So whether that's, you know, club representation, so executive committee on a club, or, you know, going from a, you know, I was a Starbucks employee in college, so like going from a barista to a shift supervisor, you know, having that, you know, leadership experience, organizing a fun run or some other sort of event, anything where you are getting people working together for a common cause is fantastic. Let us know about that. I think there are a lot of students who kind of get a little bit of tunnel vision and only think about what things are related to veterinarians and animals. And we want to know about you as a person completely. So please definitely let us know about those things. And then learn to adapt and ask for help. I'm sure some of you, you know, had the experience where, you know, you didn't really have to study in high school and you got to college and you realized maybe you should start studying. The same thing happens in vet school. And sometimes it's, hey, I really studied for this, but maybe I need to study in a different way. So learn how to adapt and kind of roll with those punches. And then ask for help. I mean, honestly, your fellow veterinary students and your faculty members are going to be absolutely ready and willing to help. But sometimes it takes an ask from you. So if you can practice that in undergrad, it will absolutely help you in vet school too. Okay, so I will get off my soapbox now. We are obviously on social media. So one of the best resources actually, I think, is our YouTube channel. So we have videos up there of faculty panels, student panels, short videos that are tell you a little bit more about our college. We typically record all of our events. So even our application workshop last year was recorded. We'll do another one this year with all of the changes to VMCAS. And that will be on May 22nd. I hope that you all join us there. But like I said, we usually put stuff like that up on our YouTube channel as well. With that, you've got my email address on the top here. literally get paid to answer your questions. So please feel free to give me give me a shout. Let me know what questions you have. Kathy Keel, so Kathy with K, is our coordinator of admissions. So you can absolutely email her if you have questions that are specific to your application, or to, schools that are to classes that you've taken, and stuff like that. If you email one of us and it's more appropriate for the other one, we'll just, swap emails. That's no problem at all. So please feel free to reach out. With that, I want to make sure that if there are any questions that we get to those, but I want to thank you again for your time. Ooh, okay. So this is a great question. What are your top 3 things that really set Iowa State apart from other vet schools, and specifically with K-State in mind? Okay, so I can't really speak to K-State because I haven't been there. I need to come down for a visit. I think once all this is over with, hopefully I can come down and learn a little bit more about K-State. So top 3 things I would say is, first is our people. We have fantastically exceptional faculty members and veterinary students who, like I said, are more than happy to help. They really want to help students succeed here. So it's not, it's not something where it's super competitive. It's very, very collaborative. And the people make that possible, right? So fantastic faculty members. We actually have had faculty members who've won like Teacher of the Year through AAVMC and those sorts of things. So some really cool things happening there. We have a culture of health, I would say, health and wellness. So that's number 2, is, there's a lot, I think, of conversations within the veterinary profession now about mental health and wellness, and that's wonderful. We're really trying to put action to that. And so we have a mental health counselor here on site. Pre-COVID, we had an exercise facility here in our building as well, so that students don't have to, commute. It's 15 minutes, but still, if you're trying to get to class, it's 15 minutes out of your day to get to main campus. If you would want to go to the gym, or if you would want to, set an appointment with a counselor, or those sorts of things. So I'm really excited we have those things on site. We also have a recreation stress relief club who was very instrumental in getting a Frisbee golf course set up right outside of our door. So that's really cool too. So there's a big culture of, it's okay to take a break and get help if you need it. So, and then I think the third thing is really about our club culture. So I know I mentioned recreation and stress relief, but we have 40 clubs on at the vet school, and they're everything from the business club to the pathology club to the bovine club, and everything in between. And if there aren't clubs that are, if there isn't a club for what you're interested in, it's easy to start a club and get recognized by the university. So that's what I would say. That's a great question. Thank you for that. Any other questions that you've got? If not, I will hand it back over to Tristan and say thanks once again. And if you have questions, please feel free to email me.
All right. Big thanks to Deanna. Oh man, I usually don't host these things, but we're gonna get to officer reports now. So Deanna, you're welcome to stick around and see those if you'd like. We don't have too many tonight. All right. So my report is the t-shirt poll is open in the GroupMe. So if you haven't voted, go ahead and go vote. Lauren. Lauren. Alrighty, I don't see Lauren. So the first social event will be Kanza Hike on Sunday, March 3rd at 3 p.m. Looks like we're going to be planning on having social events twice per month. So that does that. So yeah, I think we're done here unless any other officer has anything else to say. It should, okay, people are saying it should be the 7th. Let me double check the GroupMe real quick. Yes, it should be the 7th. So March 7th, Sunday at 3 p.m. Alrighty, it looks like none of the other officers have anything to say, so everyone have a good rest of your night and study hard.
Really quickly, I just have a quick question about the attendance.
Yes.
I had to join a couple minutes late and I didn't want to interrupt anything, so I didn't send my name in. Is there any way I can still get credit?
Yes. Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.